Hey, hey, hey. Hope everybody is doing well. Back with you here at this 8 o'clock Pacific time. Napes and Ryno, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How about you? You getting your fill of Olympics?
Yeah,
Napes?
I'm not watching as much as I thought I would. I'm watching some. How about you?
Here and there, the things that I want to watch. Team USA Gymnastics gets gold again behind Simone Biles. Congratulations to them.
And how about the men? What a story in the pommel horse. What a great scene that was. That was incredible.
Pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Especially the women usually get all the attention when it
Yeah.
comes to the gymnastics. Hell of a bounce back story for them.
And how about the women's rugby team and how they
Getting
won against
bronze.
Australia? That was one of the great moments so far of the Olympics.
I think it indeed was. And one of the worst moments to me of the Olympics thus far, the 3-on-3 basketball, Napes. Have you seen any of it?
I have not, and I have no interest, but go
Good.
ahead.
Do not watch it. There is no reason to unless you want to see Jimmer, and no disrespect to the athletes out there. It is a bad look altogether for basketball. It's fragmented. It looks like anything you could see at your local park. And to boot, you don't understand the rules. The commentators aren't giving that to you.
I haven't watched it, nor will I watch it. I don't think it should be an Olympic sport.
It should not. It absolutely should not. That's something they need to go back to the drawing board on.
All right, baseball trade deadline in the books. Dodgers get Flaherty from the Tigers, which is a big move for them. They'll lose in the playoffs though because that's the Dodgers. But
Yes.
Again, they're rolling it, and they're making sure that they have the best opportunity.
Yep, they add a little depth to the bench too, something that was an issue for them, but still atop the MLB West for the National League. So doing all right.
Yankees win in extra innings. Wow.
Hell of a game.
Jazz Chisholm, 4 homers in 24 hours. C-Dog, could you help me with this? Could you have someone teach him how to run around the bases instead of the way he does run around the bases? I understand the 3-run homer tonight in the 7th was a big deal, but it's embarrassing to me. That's not a Yankee, all right? Learn how to run around the bases with a little bit of class. I don't like that.
And can both of you do me a favor? Is he colorblind? Is there a reason he's wearing purple with that beautiful Yankee gray? Somebody help me out here.
I don't know. I really do not know. So I will say one thing. I watched the end. I watched the fourth quarter, which surprised me. I didn't think I would, of the France-Japan men's basketball game.
Yes.
France got a 4-point play on a critical possession where there was not a foul. That was not a foul on the Japanese player. That was not a foul. No, I mean, come on. And I felt really bad for Japan because when Rui Hachimura was disqualified for a second unsportsmanlike foul, I thought that was it for Japan. But they rallied behind their phenomenal point guard. But I thought that was a horrible call. Horrible call. The rules in Olympic and international play, the unsportsmanlike foul is so different because in the NBA, that would have just been a common foul.
Sure.
And I think some players have a difficult time adjusting to that.
Yeah, it would be tough. Absolutely. I mean, France got a little bit of home cooking, I guess you could say. I mean, credit to them. They've got the crowd behind them. But Japan, to me, was as big of a story as France coming back because they're not the biggest team in certain points, like the point guard, as you said, and they battle out there. They put up their threes.
They should have won the game. I thought they got totally screwed on that call. That was a horrible call. Horrible call.
Yep.
Anyway, we are happy that you're with us. Ryno's got the link right there on the chat line. And if you want to hit the QR code, that will get you on as well. C-Dog said DJ Moore, 4-year, $110 million extension with the Bears. Yep, big time to go with their new rookie quarterback. There's the link if you want to get on the program. But, wide receiver now in the bank, big time contract, $110 million. Big time deal. And speaking of football, do you know that we actually will have football in 48 hours? We actually will have football. Yeah, it's preseason. I'm going to watch the game for one reason and one reason only, Ryan.
The kickoff rule.
Yep. I want to see what it looks like. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch. I kind of want to see how these Guardian caps work out. We had this conversation last week. I'm interested to see how many players are going to wear them. If it affects the way they play, it shouldn't because they wear them in practice all the time.
Yeah.
But that's something I'll be keeping my eye on. And by the way, no Caleb Williams in the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, no, right. And you might want to ask why. Why not?
Maybe get him in for a series. Let him hand the ball off, take a snap or two for the crowd, and call it a night.
I mean, isn't that what preseason's for?
It's exactly what it's for, Grant. So then what happens is the first couple weeks of the season become the preseason for these guys that don't get any work in the preseason.
And what would be the reason other than seeing the kickoff to watch the game now?
Football, being back, Hall of Famers.
I understand, but you understand what
Yeah, I got
I
you.
get you.
Yeah,
I mean,
I hear you. The number one
does that
pick.
mean he's just not ready to even take preseason snaps? What does that tell you? Why would you not play him a couple of series?
That tells me that they feel he is that important to the team. They feel he is a centerpiece of their success. They don't even want to risk running him out there, especially the first preseason game.
All right. Well,
an early preseason game, by the way.
Yeah, no, it is. It's the extra game. It's the Hall of Fame game. And then, the other teams don't play until next week.
Yep. Indeed. Grant, really quick on the Olympics. We do have an Olympic announcer that has been ousted for something that he said on the air. Not sure if you heard about this. Eurosport has removed Bob Ballard from its roster with immediate effect. He made a comment during one of the swimming relay races during the Australian women gold medal. Basically, well, I'll read it verbatim. Well, the women just finishing up, you know what women are like, hanging around doing their makeup. Justified or not?
I think that our society is so damn oversensitive about every little comment. Okay? And it goes to woke media. It goes to so many things that are happening in our society. Do I think that individual should have been removed for that comment? No. Do I think Tom Brenneman should have been removed from his job for what he said? Yes. Mm-hmm. And I have the utmost respect. He's a friend of mine. We communicate often. I've been on his podcast. He's been on mine. He would be the first to admit that what happened to him was just. Okay?
Yep.
I think that we have such a tendency to overreact about anything that has to do with race, has to do with gender bias. Would that be the proper way of saying that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that we as a society are so quick to overreact, especially employers, because they're afraid of any backlash at all from their audience or their sponsors. And most companies now have zero backbone when it comes to sticking up for their employees. To me, this situation could have been handled differently. It could have been, hey, let's go on camera and make a public apology and ask for your forgiveness or your whatever and move on. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I mean, do I think the guy should be removed for that comment? No, I don't.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it was in bad taste. I think we're both on the same page there.
I agree with you on that. It was in bad taste.
Should not have said, but there's such a reaction, like you said, to make sure you get ahead of something. And then sometimes you realize it wasn't as bad. But the problem I have, we talked about it this week. What's going on during some of the national anthems, the opening?
Thank you. So we're removing an announcer. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. We remove an announcer, okay? But yet we allow fans to go into an Olympic venue.
Yes.
With their Palestinian flags. I'm okay with the Palestinian flags. I mean, you have a right to have a Palestinian flag. But for the fans that are chanting Heil Hitler, Hi Hitler, they are not removed from the venue. And other fans, thousands in the stadium, find that acceptable. To me, the match should not have been played until all of those fans were removed. The match should not have been played. What would have happened? All right. And what would happen when South Sudan's playing the United States men's basketball team if a group of fans, okay, were in the stands with KKK flags or
Oh boy.
whatever it is? I don't even know
Yeah.
what it is, chanting the N-word. Do you think the game would go on, Ryan?
No, absolutely
Okay.
not.
So why do we allow anti-Semitic behavior to the most disgusting degree dating back to the whole Holocaust? Why would we allow that in an Olympic venue?
Well, I would ask this question too. Why are fans not held to a similar standard if they're making it on the broadcast too? If those chants are ending up on the air, if
Yeah.
those visuals are
Yeah.
happening, it's a problem. It's a double standard. And yes, bad taste, but get a hold of ourselves. Can we find the middle? Where the hell is the balance?
Yep.
I mean, it's
Now,
crazy.
do I think that Palestinian flags should be allowed at an event that does not involve Palestinians? No, I really don't. I think it's completely improper. I don't think that a protest should be allowed within the confines of the Olympics. That's not
No.
what the Olympics is about. And so I don't agree with that. And I think that all of those fans should have been removed from the venue.
Yep, I'm with you. One time the Olympics was about bringing everybody together despite their differences, spirit of sports. And now,
Yeah, what's happened to that?
good question. It's aged out, Grant, and it's a new day. But
You had an athlete, I believe in wrestling, it may be judo, I can't remember the sport, so forgive me, that DQ'd himself because he didn't want to go against an Israeli athlete. He was protesting.
it's his choice. Why go to the Olympics then? Why?
That's
you know
right.
that
Why
could be
go
a
to the Olympics?
possibility. Why?
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. I'm disgusted by it. I'm disgusted by it. And I always talk about one of the great quotes from Martin Luther King. All right. Our lives begin to end the day we remain silent about things that matter. Fans at an Olympic venue, okay, with the Heil Hitler salute and chant, that doesn't matter. Like, that's now acceptable in our society in 2024. Forget about the Olympics. That would be acceptable anywhere? No. Okay.
Mm-mm.
And I'm not Jewish, but I will tell you one thing. I will stand with my Jewish friends every single day. I probably have more friends that are Jews than any other religion. I mean, I grew up on Long Island and in a community that had many Jews. Many of my close friends that I grew up with, particularly in high school, when we had two junior high schools merge into one, and one of the junior high schools was a very, very high populated community of Jews. And to this day, they're some of my great friends, and I have many other friends, including many minority owners of the Sacramento Kings, whom are Jewish, that I am extremely close to. And I feel awful for them. I feel awful that in America, forget about Israel, forget about Gaza and what's going on in that conflict. I'm talking about American citizens. And when I say forget about that, what I'm saying is I don't want to get onto that tangent. I'm not educated enough to talk about the history of the Palestinians and Israel and everything else. So I'm talking about American citizens, okay, on our soil, all right, who are Jewish, who are threatened. Phil Mushnick wrote the most amazing column 2 days ago about this. And if you would indulge me, I would like to read this because Phil is Jewish. Okay. And let me bring this up. So, but you understand the quote I just read by MLK, right? Don't you agree with that? Like,
100%. Yes.
I mean, why are we allowing that in our society? Like, why is that not like grounds for stopping the event until those are removed from the venue and never allowed back in, by the way. All right.
Well, Grant, then is it that line where they're getting what they want if you stop the event? to remove them.
No, you have to stop the event. You have to draw the line. You have to. Let me read this, an excerpt from Phil Mushnick's column, just to show you where we're at. This is the New York Post, by the way. This isn't Israel. This isn't the Gaza Strip. This is New York City. You ready for this?
Yeah, I read this. Yeah, I want to hear it again.
Last week was and remains infuriating. My wife, who caught the Broadway theater bug when she was a child growing up in Jersey City, was headed to see a show with a friend when she asked me this: do you think it's safe to wear my Star of David necklace into Manhattan? I was incensed. It had come to this. New York City in 2024 had begun to resemble and be resembled into Munich 1933 and Vichy France 1940. Again, I was infuriated. But perhaps the worst part was that I couldn't come up with the right answer. Safety or surrender? Courageous victim or capitulation? She wore it, but kept it hidden. Good grief. It had come to that. Yeah, I've heard it for years. Being anti-Zionism doesn't necessarily mean you're anti-Semitic. But don't tell the wild-eyed extremists, mostly Muslims, welcomed to live in Western democratic countries that are incompatible with radical Islamic beliefs, activities, and intolerance, who all over the world have been attacking and murdering Jews because they are Jews, not Israelis. And I thought about our politicians, progressive cable TV host, New York Attorney General Alvin Bragg and Letitia James, elected law enforcers and protectors of the law-abiding, and college presidents who have allowed such hatred to be resurrected on their campuses and their watches. James still hasn't answered the question if she supports biological men playing and dominating female sports. How is that biological women don't excel at men's sports? It's a matter of both justice and equality. No, what's justifiably equal in a stacked deck? It's not a political question. It's a common sense question to which no good answer exists. And I just can you imagine?
No.
They've been married forever. They're Jewish, and his wife's getting ready to go into Manhattan to see a Broadway play and has to ask Phil, do you think I should wear my necklace? We're in 2024. You want to talk about a divided country? And I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here.
No.
You want to talk about a divided country? No, the world is divided. Okay, yes. It's not just the country is divided. Our world is divided. However, I'm blessed to travel around the world, and I've talked to people of all ethnicities, generations, sex, or gender, I should say. And you know what? I don't find this when I travel. I don't find people that are walking around with hatred. I don't find people that are discriminating. You know what I find? Almost every person that I meet, strangers that I talk to, want the same thing that you want and that I want. They want to be happy and they want peace, and they don't want war, and they don't want discrimination. Yeah, they have biases. You have biases. I have biases. Sure. Why? Because we're human beings. It's part of the human emotions. It's okay to have bias. It's not okay to have hatred. There's a difference between bias and hatred. You can have bias. All right. There are certain announcers I like on TV. There are certain announcers I don't like. There are certain athletes I like. There are certain athletes I don't like. But it's not hatred. Even people think I hate DeMarcus Cousins. I don't hate DeMarcus Cousins. I actually like the guy. Yeah. Okay. I don't hate him. If he hates me, that's his problem. I don't hate him.
Right.
Hate, there's no place in society for hatred. There's no place for that. And when we are watching an Olympic sporting event, okay, and we see the Israeli national anthem being booed, jeered, with Palestinian flags and a Heil Hitler salute, no. The event needs to be stopped. Security needs to take those people and remove them from the venue. Period.
Amen. Well said. I think it's one of those things, Grant, where Phil's wife demonstrates it perfectly in wondering if she can wear that star. Is it better to be quiet or do I stand up for what I believe in? Because you almost, if you make the decision that you want to stand up for what you believe in, some people also subconsciously think, I've done it myself. Then, okay, I'm okay with the consequences that might come from that. I'm okay with having a conflict because that's a real possibility. And that's a bad place to be. We're on edge. You travel, you said it perfectly. Are people on edge like you see us here on edge in America? Just ready and wired to pounce like a spring? It's different.
I'll tell you, I travel to Thailand frequently.
Yeah.
It's so different over there than here. It's so different. Just the feeling of society where they don't look at you based on what your appearance is. They don't care about your sexuality. All right. Lady boys, right, are very popular. People don't care about that. People don't care about tomboys. People don't care about whether you're black or white or Muslim or Buddhist, which Thailand is primarily Buddhist. And then in the southern part of Thailand, it's primarily Muslim. The Thai people don't care about that. They don't get caught up on your ethnicity. They don't get caught up on your sexuality. They don't X is not popular at all over in Southeast Asia. So like when I go over there and ask people if they're on Twitter, X, they don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's very refreshing because I think, as I've talked about on many occasions, Kevin Youkilis's tweet in the summer of 2020, that he feels that social media is the biggest issue with the degrading of society in America. And I would agree with that. I think that, and listen, I'm on X, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here. Yeah. I use it to promote what we do.
Sure.
I use it for some other instances. So I don't want to, and I think there are over 500 million people worldwide that are users of X. So I don't want to sound like a hypocrite here. But social media is great, but it can also be evil. All right?
Yeah,
There's two sides to it.
And that can be true of many things in life. It's how you use it. There's good things that come from social media. There's families that get connected that didn't even know that they were family. You hear those stories from time to time, but it's also a shield sometimes, Grant. It's for people to be able, I'll be quite frank, people put masks on to cover their identities when they did things of hate. Social media gives you a digital mask if you choose to use it that way.
Thank you, Grant, for sticking up for what's right. Why do so few with a platform have the courage to discuss these topics? People are afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of cancel culture. Look at what happened to me.
Yeah.
Right? All I put on Twitter was all lives matter, every single one. Are there really people in society that don't believe that? Again, I've traveled around the world and have shared my story with many people. All right. And I'm talking about many, 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 many people. Many people. I've only found two people. One African-American, one an American Caucasian that understood why I lost my job. Only two. Everyone else has been appalled. Everyone's like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying all lives matter, every single one? Isn't that true? Isn't that factual? Doesn't everyone pretty much believe that? So if you can lose your job, all right, and be canceled, you ask the question, why do people with a platform, don't they have the courage to discuss these topics? Because they're afraid of being canceled the way I was. Yeah. That's why.
Bingo. Spot freaking on.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. It's, it's tricky.
I mean, would I go back and redo, if I had to go back and relive May 31st, 2020 all over again, would have I still said all lives matter, every single one? 100% I would have. I may have added a few more lines to that, because of the minority of people that misconstrued what I said. But I thought that saying all lives matter, every single one, is very self-explanatory. I didn't think there was any gray area. So if
Well,
I had said, if I had said on social media, what do I think of BLM? And I answered it, yeah, of course the lives of Black people matter, but all lives matter, every single one. Would have that been okay? I mean, think about that. If I had just said, yeah, of course the lives of Black people matter, but all lives matter, every single one. Would have that been acceptable, or would I have still been canceled?
probably still would have been canceled. But as you said, the crazy part is, I mean, even to this day, people don't understand that can be offensive. And it speaks to lack of education and also just division. It's not learning about people anymore. Grant, when was the last time, somebody in the chat, you just go up and maybe you're at the bar, maybe you're at the coffee shop, you start a conversation with somebody you don't know. That's like non-existent these days for the most part.
I do it all the time. I love talking to strangers. I love striking up conversations. Just like you and I, the day that we had lunch at Bennett's with that individual that was trying to help us, right?
Yeah.
His story was fascinating. We sat there for an extra
Unbelievable.
hour just talking to him, learning about his background. And I was just like blown away, right? I didn't expect that when we went to lunch that day. Did you?
Absolutely not.
I
Absolutely
mean,
not.
it's incredible. It's incredible. It's just everyone's got stories, Ryan.
You just got to listen. That's part of the problem these days. People do not listen.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got, these types of conversations are important. So I'm glad that, you're able to join us and partake in them. And you can call the show if you want to get involved in the conversation, or we can talk Olympics. We can talk about anything you want. We have an open forum here on the show.
Yes, indeed. In fact, let's kick it off with Jay. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing tonight?
Hey, Jay, how are you?
I'm doing good. I really like your perspective on that, Grant, with what you said with your situation. I don't know too much about it. I came across you the very first time that I came on this show. So I don't,
wow.
I didn't know too much
Interesting.
about the situation, but you said to go do some research on it and stuff like that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with what you said. Knowing you and what you stand for, there's no negative connotation behind what you said. You weren't trying to single anybody out.
Nope.
But like you said earlier, people can take what you say out of context, especially on the internet where reading stuff, you might type something in a tone of voice, right? Tone of voice is so huge.
100% correct.
Text messaging
Yes,
too.
exactly.
Intent.
Totally.
Intent.
Yes, that's huge, right? So it's kind of hard for people to understand, especially people who have felt, I guess you could say in this case, people of the Black Lives Matter movement who have felt a part of that. They may have taken that a little bit more personal because also there's the lack of the tone of voice. There's, it's such a simple phrase that he said, but it could easily get taken out of context.
Well, if people wanted to really do some research and educate themselves, all they would have to do is interview some of the students in my foundation, one of whom, by the way, was a cousin of Stephon Clark, who was in our foundation, who we, as a foundation, sent to Cal on a college scholarship. She earned that scholarship, but she entered our program in 10th grade, like all of our students. We mentored her, and she has done great. Okay? So does that mean like I'm perfect? No, it doesn't mean I'm perfect. But I've always said this to people that want to debate me about Black lives, this, Hispanic lives, Asian lives. I've always debated people that want to come on and criticize. I've said, okay, you want to criticize me? Fine. Go ahead and criticize me. What have you done to make your community better? And I'm often met with silence. They bitch and they complain and they point fingers and they want to cancel. But they don't do anything. Actions speak louder than words. I was blessed to have a great platform in Sacramento, and I used my platform to help others that were in need and underprivileged. And in a nutshell, my foundation took students that were going to be first generational college students that had to meet a very low economic threshold, that had a bright future but needed an olive branch. Okay. They needed something to hold on to, something to give them hope. And we gave our students hope. And in my tenure of having the Future Foundation, which I started with another gentleman in the early 2000s named Joe Namath, not the quarterback,
Darn.
we decided to do an educational foundation because we felt that people can't say no to education when you need sponsors. And I sold out my golf tournament every single year to raise money for our students. And I'm very proud to say that when I was in Sacramento with the Future Foundation, raising the money, we sent 104 students to college.
Wow.
All right. 104, including the valedictorian at Grant High School, who made the most amazing speech at our golf tournament. And I'm paraphrasing, but she said in 9th grade she was lost and that she didn't have direction. And she found out about the Future Foundation and was accepted as a sophomore. Guess where she is right now? She, I believe, is now a senior at Stanford.
Wow.
Okay. She graduated from Grant High School with the highest academic achievement in the history of the high school. Think about that for a minute. Highest academic achievement in the history of Grant High School, who was in our foundation, who we were able to not only provide the money that we allocate to our students, but then since Stanford is so expensive, we were able to assist in getting her the grant so that she didn't have to pay a dime to go to Stanford. That's what I'm
Awesome.
most proud of. That, like, I'm not really proud of calling a game winner, in the fourth quarter, although that's what I do for a living. No, I didn't make a difference in calling that game winner in the fourth quarter. But you know what? I know I made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And so, like, when I take my last breath and wherever I'm heading, I'm not going to have any regrets, because if you can help out people, if you can make your community better, then to me, you're a good person. And I try to always make my community better. And I know I'm probably sounding like I'm on my high horse. Ryan knows me a lot better than you do. I very rarely talk about myself. I rarely talk about my accomplishments. I always let my audience do that. But because you came on and talked about not really knowing much about me when you started watching the show, I'm just giving you a little background that maybe you didn't know.
No, like I said, I can tell from the conversations that we've had and how you speak about topics like this, you have no hate in your heart. And even I remember the story you told. I think it was a guy that you worked with, paraphrasing, of course, but he had said, I think it was the N-word when you guys were younger, and your father had pulled him aside and told him, you don't say things like that. And he said to this day he remembers that conversation and how much that changed his outlook on life. Instead of being
we were 9 years old.
Right.
You only know what you know as a kid, right? And again, we're talking about an era in
Different
the 60s.
time.
No internet, no social media,
Right.
no cell phones, right?
Yeah.
So what do you know? You only know really what you're hearing in your own house and on the playground, right? You're not
what's
getting
going on around those times too. That was huge.
exactly
And that was
right.
huge of your
Yeah.
father to do that, because your father could have easily been a victim of the surroundings too.
My father was never a victim of his
My name is
surroundings.
about-
My father was actually trying to change his surroundings
Exactly. And
into
that's
making it
key.
a more equitable community. My dad was a civil rights activist. I mean,
Really?
that's how I was raised. But Chris Russo is
Wow.
not, we're talking about Chris Russo now, one of the most prolific sports personalities in America. And Chris came on my radio show in 1995 and said, hey, you remember that day? I go, yeah. He goes, I've never told you this before, but your dad changed my life that day. And when I got off the show, I called my dad, and my dad kind of broke down on the phone, and I said, Dad, just think about what you did for Chris at that early age. And I used to go to Chris's house. Chris was an only child. His parents were unbelievably strict, very strict, very, very strict. And I heard his dad say that word often. And I knew as a little boy that was wrong. But what was I going to say? I'm 7, 8, 9 years old. And I just knew that in my house, that was never going to be heard or said. And when Chris said that word, so my point is, that's learned behavior, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But
at such a young age, you're so moldable.
Well, think about this. I worked with Mike Lamb for a number of years as my co-host. Mike was from outside of Fresno, Clovis, California. Okay, Mike went to he went to USC on a football scholarship. Mike came on my podcast and we talked about that transition. And he said going to USC was the best thing that ever happened to me because I learned other cultures because I was a redneck, because I didn't know any different. I didn't know about the Black community. I didn't know about the only community that I knew about was the community that I grew up in, without social media, with only what we had in our peer group and our friend group. And he said, we were a redneck community. And he said, when I got to USC and I was around Ronnie Lott and Marcus Allen and a lot of the other Black players, I learned a whole new side of life. And he goes, and it changed my life. Okay. It made me into who I am today. And he said it was the greatest education, greatest learning experience that he's ever had in his entire life, was leaving Clovis and going to USC. And as you all know, when you're on a team, the barriers are torn down on a team.
Totally.
All right. When you're in a locker room, there really aren't barriers, right?
Mm-mm.
Like there's no racism, cultural bigotry. You might not like somebody, but it's not based on their ethnicity, their religion. It's such a beautiful place to be.
Amen.
In a athletic locker room, because you're all working towards one common goal, and you're with each other, and you learn so much, right, Brian? I mean,
Yeah,
and Jay, how much do you learn by playing sports? I learned so much, and a lot of it was just from being around people with different cultures.
Yeah, Mike's, we talked about this a few weeks back. Mike's experience, Elk Grove, a little bit more diverse than Clovis, but certainly it was one of the best experiences. And not only did they learn from us, but we learned from them. And it's not color, it's just different ways of living, inner city versus more rural, little things here and there. And you connect over the most basic things in life: winning, success, food, little stuff like that.
So if you didn't know, I'm actually biracial. So my mother is white, my father is Black. If you had to guess just by looking at me, I take no offense.
I haven't even thought about it, to be honest with you, but I'm happy that you are acknowledging that. I've never looked at you and tried to figure out what you are. And I say this in all due respect, and I want you to believe me when I say this. It really doesn't matter to me. I've never once looked at you and tried to figure out what your ethnicity is, because I don't care. You seem like a good person with a very good head on your shoulders and a good heart. And and that's all I care. I don't care whether you're gay. I don't care whether you're Black or white or Asian. It doesn't matter to me. And that's how I live my life. But go ahead.
Well, I was saying to say it's kind of a similar element. I obviously am not as old and wise as you are yet, Grant, but my mother grew up in a small town. Huh?
You're pretty wise, my friend. You're very educated. I can just tell from the first time you called, but go ahead.
So my mother grew up in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you know where that's at.
I do know where Bellefonte is. Yes, I do.
Right by State College, Pennsylvania. My grandmother worked for Penn State for 35 years and retired there, and my mother graduated from there. But in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, I believe in 2006 is when it was. I was 6 years old, so I follow the years. I'm a 2000s baby. There were 6 Black people in that county. I would go and visit every year or so with my mom and visit her side of the family. But keep in mind, like I said, I'm biracial, so my father's side is Black. So you can imagine the conversation where my mother's father was, you're dating a Black guy, right? And so you can imagine, I kind of see that old school type of thinking. And then I had a stepfather who's Black, and his father was like a super Black Panther, gung-ho Black guy. So I've seen both sides of the spectrum. It's just very interesting. And I think in the end, I'll be on my grandfather on my mom's side loved me to death. When I came out, that didn't matter. He held me and he fell in love with me. So, that's one step closer to equality and acceptance of people. But I just wanted to say that too. I also kind of was able to, being literally right in the middle of both. It's like, wow, there's so much culture on this side of my family. Oh, my father's side. Oh, we got the cookouts or the barbecues, shooting dice, playing, you know what I mean?
Family reunions.
And then you got, my Caucasian side of the family. We're just going to have Texas sheet cake at the park and play badminton or other cultural things, and just being able to mesh that. I moved out here to California when I was 2 years old. But like I said, I've visited back and forth. There's a huge difference from just like, there you go, from the rural
Of
side of
course.
things, the city
Yeah.
side of things. You know,
Yeah.
I grew up in Oak Park, which historically wasn't the nicest neighborhood in Sacramento. It's
Of
changing
course.
now a little
They're
bit. In
trying,
Northwest.
yeah.
Yeah. But like I said, I would go back and visit. You would see Amish people on the road in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania, on horses and carriages. Amish in the 2010s. So like this, it's completely, you know, eye-opening and almost what you would call a culture shock when these people that come from, I don't know, North Dakota or Wyoming come down to like a college like USC for the first time in their life, or a big city like New York or even Texas. It's crazy to experience that. And I think,
Yep.
like you said, traveling is one of the best things you could do
It's the best. It's the best.
to help
It's
learn.
you know, it's interesting. I have a lot of when I go to Thailand, I have a lot of black friends over there that are Americans. Some are retired, some are working for the U.S. Embassy in a variety of responsibilities. The U.S. Embassy in Bangkok, Thailand is the largest U.S. embassy in the world, and there are a lot of people that work there. And I've met many of them, and I've asked them. I've had a lot of conversations with my black friends when I go to Thailand. I said, "I'm just curious. Is there racism over here?" And they laugh. They go, "Not from the Thai people." I go,
Right.
"What do you mean?" They go, "The Thai people. No, we don't have any problems at all with the Thai people. Not once have I had an issue with a Thai person." Or I felt discriminated against, but foreigners that are over here, yeah, those are the problems that I run into.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
crazy.
just found that to be so interesting, right?
Right. I
That's
remember
and
we had a
you know,
conversation
and
about
that was
that.
a uniform response from my friends that live over in Thailand that said that. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I remember the conversation briefly, and I think I want to ask Ryno, because I don't think you were here when I asked this. But I
Yeah.
said, do you think that there's less discrimination and less division in places like Thailand because the overall general population is from the same descent or somewhat of the same related descent? Like, people, generally speaking, look alike. Like, do you think that could be a reason for less discrimination and less divide in the country?
I think, and I've never been to Thailand for a day in my life. I've studied a lot of the
I would
different
love to go.
countries.
I haven't
Yeah,
gone
I
either.
would love to go too.
You
I
won't
think
come back. I'm just warning you. If you go, you won't come back. So be careful.
well, you know, my wife might not have a problem with that, Napes, depending on the day. But simplicity, Jay. A lot of cultures, they live a simplistic lifestyle. It's fresh, healthy food. It's spending time together. It's not a bunch of electronics.
Yeah,
Grant said
that's a huge
Twitter's not a
thing.
big thing.
Yeah,
I think it harbors more communication, more openness, and there's something to it. I really do
that's
believe that.
yeah. I think you hit on something very important. You said like the unity, the togetherness, the simplicity. And when you said that, I took that as a family unit.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of family units in America
Thai
anymore.
families eat together all the time, including grandparents. All right.
Yes,
So you have
yes.
3 and 4 generations eating
Mhm.
every single day together. It's part of their culture.
Mm.
It's part of they live all together, grandparents, parents,
Yes,
children,
and the younger
their children.
children take care of the elders.
Absolutely. The Thai
Yes.
women particularly take care of their moms and their grandmothers, and the dynamic over there is not one that I would say, yeah, you need to do that. I mean, we're talking about the majority of Thai people who work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and maybe make 10 to 12,000 US dollars a year.
Yeah. That's
And
a
don't
huge
complain
thing.
about it.
Would you say they don't need a lot? They just need each other.
Yes, and
That's a
that's all they
great
have.
question. That's a great
That's all
question.
they have is each other. But the other thing is they don't complain a lot, and they're not all walking around looking for handouts. They're like, just let me work and earn money. You know, it's just like, I'm like, wow. And they do it with a smile. Like if you go into a store, whether it's a 7-Eleven, which are every 50 yards. No, really,
Wow.
there are 7-Elevens literally every 50 to 100 yards in Thailand. They're everywhere. I mean, there's
And you've been all
Everywhere.
around Thailand, right? Like you've been to
I've been everywhere.
Bangkok,
I've
and
been,
then I think Pattaya is the only places that I've heard of that I've known. But
yeah. I call it Pattaya, but Pattaya. But yeah, that's
okay,
it's
Pattaya
about 2 hour car ride
from okay,
from Bangkok. It's on the ocean. It's extremely popular area. And it also is a very good base for all the different islands you can go to from there. And the Thai islands are beautiful. Just to
which
give you an idea what it costs to take a nice motor coach from downtown Bangkok to Pattaya is about 130 to 140 baht, which is about $4.
wow,
Now, but if you're stuck up like me, just joking. But like if you wanted to take a private car service and have a nice
that's what
car
we call
picture,
bougie in the black community is what they would call it, like the
what
culture.
do they
Yeah,
call it?
bougie.
Bougie?
All right, bougie. Okay, so if
Yeah,
you want
like
to do
you got to
that,
have the best. It has to be Polo Ralph Lauren. It can't be the U.S.
oh,
Polo. Like it has to be like top of the line.
all right. Well, anyway, if you want to take a private car
You want to be
and have that
bougie.
car pick you up at your hotel or wherever you are and drive you 2 hours to Pattaya, that's $40.
That's not bad for
Forty
2 hours.
dollars in Sacramento does not get you from the airport to downtown Sacramento. You
It,
can't do that in a taxi
at
for
No.
40
$40.
bucks.
No.
Normally, yeah, that's crazy that you can travel that far for that price. But also, I'm sure gas is much cheaper out there as well.
Yeah. But
Well, what's your
anyway, you
favorite?
know what? Listen, I love having these type of conversations. But listen, you don't have to have a foundation to make a difference in your community. You can make a difference in the community by, donating time to
That's
your
very
church
true.
or to
That's
the
very true.
homeless people or food drives, or there's so many
Yes.
ways to do it. And you don't have, it doesn't cost money. You don't have to use money to,
Make a difference.
right.
There's nothing too small. Sometimes people
That's
say,
right.
oh, well, it's not enough. No, just anything.
Yeah, even if you could change one kid's life, if you're a youth program leader, or for, like I
That's
was
right.
a youth basketball coach, like there's 10 kids, but even if you can
Yep.
change one,
Makes it all
that
worthwhile.
kid can hopefully inspire other peers,
Yep.
or he can take what he learned when he's old enough and change
Amen.
his community dynamic. But I wanted to
Jay,
ask you before I
go
left,
ahead.
what's
Yep.
your favorite place to visit in Thailand? And then why I originally came on here and decided to take part. Well, the original question for today I was going to ask you earlier was, why can't the Kings win a championship? And you can answer both of those and I'll hop out.
Okay. Well, I'll answer the second. They can't win the championship because the roster is not good enough. So that's the first. That I'll get to that. It's very simple. My favorite place in Thailand is PP Island, PHI.
That's funny.
I think it's one of the prettiest places. Well, it's probably the prettiest place I've ever been in the world.
Whoa.
Maybe Switzerland up in the Jungfrau region, or Zermatt with the Matterhorn.
Really?
I would put, it's a different type of beauty, but PP Island is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life, and it is a destination that people from all over the world want to see.
I've done I'm doing an elective summer class because it's a lot cheaper
Yep.
to do my electives in the summer. I'm doing Asian art history, so all around Asia and stuff like that. But I'm gonna get out right now, I promise.
All right,
Have you
go to
seen this?
YouTube. Go to YouTube and just put in PP Island, PHI.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up after this.
Just look at the videos. Just look at some of the videos, and you're going to be figuring out, gee, when can I get my plane ticket to go over there?
Okay. Santorini, Greece, and I heard Ireland was really gorgeous. Have you been to either one of those?
I have not been to Santorini, Greece. I've been to Athens, and I have not been to Ireland, but I've been to Scotland, and I was there for my 60th 5 years ago to play golf with 11 others, and it was spectacular. I want to go to Ireland. I was invited to go to Ireland this summer, but it did not work out with my finances and my time, so I did not go, but I've been invited to go back next July, and we'll see where I'm at. But I do want to go to Ireland.
Awesome.
So, hey, buddy, good hearing from you as always. Remember, go look
Visit
that up,
those
PP
places for
Island.
sure.
You got homework,
two
Jay.
places on your bucket list to visit now. Santorini. Have you seen pictures of Santorini?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, you have to go. I'm going to look at it as soon as the show's over.
Yeah, do your homework. Grant will follow up. Trust
you guys.
me.
Have a good one.
All right.
Thanks, Jay.
Jay, you and I should go to Thailand. All right. I'll be your chaperone.
Yeah, Grant
Right.
will book the trip for you. You've done that for friends before.
Absolutely. They have to pay for it, but I'll help them book it. All
Yeah,
right. I want to go. New Works Plumbing. New Works Plumbing has a fix for you. You go to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they are available around the clock 24/7 for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. Just go to sackserviceplumbing.com. Remember, New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. And I also want to tell you about Sunrise Landing in Calusa, newest residential community from Blazona Development. And they have beautiful models that you can look at to choose from, 6 in all. And if you go to the website, you can get a lot more information on these beautiful models and lot sizes. No Mellorews, no homeowners. Great location. You know, it's right next to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Easy to get to, access from I-5, Highway 20, Highway 45. And again, CalusaSunrise.com will get you all the information you need, and you can check out everything you need to about Sunrise Landing. Again, Sunrise Landing in Calusa. Give it a look.
Give it a look, indeed. Love into the comments, all of you. What I love about this community: time, most valuable thing you can give. Donate blood. Little things like that. Amen to all of you. We'll wrap the show up with Sea-Dog. How you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. I've been watching a whole ton of Olympics. I mean, I've been watching fencing.
What's your favorite so far? What have you liked the best?
Man, I liked the fencing a lot. I liked the trap shooting a lot. Watched, some gymnastics. I liked the freestyle swimming. I watched some sailing.
Man, you're watching everything if you're watching sailing. I didn't even know they had sailing in the Olympics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have the windsurfing and the regular surfing. Yeah, they have it all, man.
So
volleyball I've been liking, water polo, field hockey.
Wow.
Sea-Dog, let me ask you really quick. Have you caught any 3x3 basketball?
That's something I'm going to hit the replays on after the show right now.
Okay, that's your homework. Give me your take on that tomorrow on the King's Court.
I'm surprised they don't have tiddlywinks in the Olympics now.
Hey, man, we're getting flag football too.
You know what? Too much. But I'm glad you're partaking in it, buddy. I'm glad you're partaking.
You know what I'm waiting for? Forklift driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I'm waiting for the forklift.
All right. Take care, buddy. Have a good one.
Appreciate you. So, Grant,
how about that? All the things he's watching. Now that's hardcore right there.
That is hardcore. So I asked Jerry Reynolds today. I said, if you had to participate in the breakdancing, the flag football, or the high dive, what's it going to be? He said the flag football. I'll just be the setter or just toss the ball to the quarterback.
He'll just oh my gosh. I don't know if Jerry can bend down that far to get the ball off the ground.
Yeah, he might have to take a knee, but that's all right.
He'll have to take a knee, right? Remember when we used to do that? Take a knee to snap the ball.
Oh, yeah. Hey, you do what you got to do, Napes.
I love that. I'll tell you what else I love, and that is Bennett's, and so does Ryan. I'll be there in a couple of weeks. I can't wait to see Brian and a staff, whether it's the West Side Grill in Rockland or Roseville or Sacramento. Happy hour sips and tastes, 2 to 6. I may have to partake in that. And don't forget about their weekend brunch, prime seafood and steaks at Bennett's. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com to make a reservation and more. That's bennettsrestaurants.com.
Don't forget about the weekend brunch. I might drag you to that too, buddy.
Yeah, might have to do that. Well, I wish an hour went this fast when I was back in school.
Yeah, it did not. It definitely did not.
If I was in math class or history class right now, we would have only been on for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and you didn't have the internet either. You didn't have an extra way to do something else. No, it was straight paying attention.
Oh, man. All right, buddy. Have a good night.
Yeah, you as well, Napes.
Everyone else, thank you very much.